12 Texas towns. 0 real estate agents willing to knock on doors. Sounds impossible in a state where houses sell every single day, right? But it's happening, and the numbers behind it are honestly shocking. One town is about to lose almost 12% of its home value in a single year. Another has a crime rate so high that agents quietly warn buyers before showing a single house. These aren't rumors, these are real stats from real reports, and once you hear them, you'll understand why. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which Texas towns are being avoided right now and why. Trust me, town number 1 alone will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Texas real estate. Let's get into it. Number 12, Sweetwater, Texas. We're starting the countdown with Sweetwater, a small West Texas town that used to ride high on the oil and wind energy boom. For years, agents loved working here because homes moved fast and prices climbed steadily. But that story is changing quickly. Zillow's latest forecast places Sweetwater among the handful of Texas markets expected to see home prices drop by more than 10% within just 12 months. For a town this size, that is not a small dip. That is a shock wave. When a local market loses value that fast, agents start hesitating because pricing a home becomes a guessing game, and nobody wants to list a property today only to watch it lose thousands in value before it even sells. Sweetwater's economy has always been tightly linked to oil and energy jobs, and when those industries slow down, so does everything else, including construction, local spending, and buyer confidence. Fewer buyers means longer days on market, and longer days on market means agents earn less for more work. Add in a shrinking pool of serious buyers in a small town like this, and you can see why some agents quietly steer clients elsewhere. It is not that Sweetwater is a bad place to live. Plenty of residents are proud to call it home. But from a real estate business standpoint, it has become one of the riskiest small markets in the entire state right now. If you are thinking about buying or selling here, this is exactly the kind of town where doing your homework before signing anything really matters. And trust me, Sweetwater is just the beginning, because the next town on this list has a problem that goes far beyond falling prices. Number 11, Big Spring, Texas. Next up is Big Spring, another West Texas town caught in the same oil-driven roller coaster as Sweetwater, but with its own set of warning signs. Big Spring sits close to the Permian Basin, one of the biggest oil-producing regions in the country, and for a long time that was a blessing. When oil prices were high, jobs were plentiful, workers moved in, and homes sold quickly. But that same dependence on a single industry is exactly what makes agents nervous today. Zillow's forecast lists Big Spring among the Texas markets expected to see home values drop by double digits over the next year. And when oil prices dip even slightly, the entire local economy feels it almost overnight. Agents here are dealing with a market that can shift dramatically in just a few months, which makes long-term planning incredibly difficult for both buyers and sellers. Imagine listing a home at a fair price today, only to find out 3 months later that the same home is worth thousands less simply because oil prices moved in the wrong direction. That kind of unpredictability scares off serious agents who want stable, repeatable business, not a market that behaves like a slot machine. On top of that, smaller boomtowns like Big Spring often see population swings tied directly to job availability, meaning the buyer pool can shrink fast when energy companies slow down drilling. For everyday residents, life continues normally, but for real estate professionals, Big Spring represents a market where the ground can shift beneath their feet with very little warning. And if you think falling prices are the biggest issue a Texas town can face, wait until you see what's happening in the next one on our list. Number 10, Alice, Texas. Coming in at number 10 is Alice, a South Texas town not far from Corpus Christi that shares the same painful trend we just saw in Sweetwater and Big Spring. Alice sits near major oil and gas fields, and just like its West Texas cousins, its housing market rises and falls with the energy industry rather than steady, diversified local growth. According to Zillow's forecast, Alice is expected to see home prices drop by more than 10% within a single year, placing it firmly among the riskiest small housing markets in the entire state. For agents, that kind of volatility creates a genuine business problem. When home values are dropping this fast, sellers often refuse to accept lower offers because they remember what their home was worth just months earlier, while buyers hold off because they suspect prices will keep falling. That standoff leaves agents stuck in the middle, doing far more work for far less commission if the home sells at all. Alice also faces a smaller, less diversified job market outside of oil and agriculture, which limits how many new buyers move into town during a downturn. Without fresh buyers entering the market, homes sit longer, price cuts become common, and agents start questioning whether taking on new listings here is even worth their time. It is a familiar pattern across small, energy-dependent Texas towns. Boom periods bring fast money, but the moment oil prices soften, the local real estate market takes the hit almost immediately. Alice is proof that even likable, tight-knit communities can become tough business environments when their economy leans on one single industry. Coming up next, we're leaving oil country behind for a town where the real problem isn't the economy, it's something far more personal. Number 9. Raymondville, Texas. At number 9, we shift away from oil towns and into a town facing a much deeper struggle, Raymondville. Located about 40 miles from the Mexico border, Raymondville holds the unfortunate title of being the poorest city in the entire state of Texas by several key measures. Nearly half of the population here lives below the poverty line, which is a staggering number for any American town in 2026. Steady employment is hard to come by, access to healthcare is limited, and basic community services that most people take for granted simply are not reliable here. On top of the economic hardship, Raymondville also struggles with a serious drug trafficking problem, which understandably makes both buyers and agents cautious about the area. But here's what makes Raymondville especially unique on this list. It is not just a poverty story, it is also a housing market story. Zillow's forecast places Raymondville among the Texas towns expected to see home prices drop by more than 10% this year, meaning the same economic struggles dragging down residents' daily lives are now dragging down property values too. For agents, this creates a brutal combination: a shrinking economy, safety concerns tied to trafficking activity, and a housing market that is actively losing value all at the same time. Very few agents want to build a business around listings where buyers are scared to visit and sellers are watching their home's worth shrink month after month. Raymondville is a reminder that real estate problems rarely exist in isolation. When a community struggles economically, that pain almost always shows up in the housing market too. And the next town on our list proves that even a booming Texas metro area isn't immune from serious safety concerns. Number 8. Killeen, Texas. Number 8 brings us to Killeen, a city best known as the home of Fort Hood, one of the largest military bases in the country. With such a strong military presence, you would expect Killeen to feel secure. But the numbers tell a very different story. Killeen has one of the highest violent crime rates in the entire nation, a fact that surprises a lot of people considering its size and location. Gang activity and drug trafficking remain serious problems here, creating an atmosphere of fear that limits economic growth and keeps many families on edge. Poverty is also a real issue in Killeen, with the poverty rate sitting noticeably higher than the national average, affecting tens of thousands of residents. When you compare Killeen's crime rate to other communities across Texas, it ranks worse than the vast majority of cities and towns in the state, regardless of size. For real estate agents, this creates a difficult sales pitch. Imagine trying to convince a young family to buy their first home in a neighborhood where the odds of becoming a victim of crime are far higher than almost anywhere else in Texas. Buyers ask hard questions, and agents are left trying to reassure people about safety concerns that are backed up by real FBI crime data, not just rumors. Some agents choose to specialize only in the safer pockets near the military base, while avoiding certain neighborhoods altogether. Killeen proves an important point. Size and military presence don't automatically mean safety, and even a well-known Texas city can carry a reputation that scares away serious homebuyers. Next up, we're heading toward the Gulf Coast, where hurricanes and economic decline have created a housing crisis of their own. Number 7. Port Arthur, Texas. At number 7, we arrive at Port Arthur, a Gulf Coast city that has been hit from almost every direction imaginable. Sitting right along Sabine Lake near the Louisiana border, Port Arthur has endured repeated hurricanes and tropical storms over the years, each one leaving behind damaged homes, crumbling infrastructure, and a community struggling to fully recover before the next storm arrives. Nearly 1 in 3 residents here live below the poverty line, a staggering statistic that reflects just how deeply the local economy has suffered. Unemployment sits above 10%, and median home values have dropped to some of the lowest levels in the state, sitting around $64,000 for many properties. But the real issue for real estate agents isn't just the low prices, it's the shrinking population and shrinking tax base behind those numbers. When people leave a city faster than new residents arrive, the local government has less money for infrastructure, schools, and basic services, which only accelerates the cycle of decline. Agents working in Port Arthur face a genuinely difficult environment, trying to sell homes in neighborhoods still recovering from storm damage, while also convincing buyers that the investment is worth the risk of another hurricane season. Health and environmental conditions remain a concern too, adding another layer of hesitation for families considering a move here. It is a heartbreaking situation because Port Arthur has real history and a resilient community, but from a pure real estate business perspective, declining population combined with storm risk and poverty creates one of the toughest markets in the entire state to work in. Coming up next, we're heading to a town where poverty numbers get even more extreme. Number 6, Robstown, Texas. Number 6 takes us to Robstown, a small agricultural hub near Corpus Christi that carries one of the most alarming poverty numbers on this entire list. Nearly 40% of the population here lives below the poverty line, which means almost half the community is struggling just to cover basic living expenses. Job opportunities are extremely limited, with most available work tied directly to crop harvesting, leaving very little room for career growth or financial stability. Public schools in Robstown are significantly underfunded, and testing results consistently rank among the poorest in the state, which only makes it harder for the next generation to break out of the cycle. But the number that really stands out is the crime rate. Robstown's violent crime rate runs about 3 times higher than the national average, and according to FBI crime data, this town ranks worse than more than 92% of all communities in Texas, regardless of size. To put that in perspective, the odds of becoming a victim of violent or property crime here are roughly 1 in 32, a statistic that would make almost anyone pause before signing a purchase agreement. Interestingly, Robstown does have one unique claim to fame. Some historians credit it as the birthplace of Texas Hold'em poker, a fun fact that adds a little humanity to a town facing very real struggles. For agents, though, fun facts don't pay the bills. Convincing buyers to invest in a town with this level of poverty and crime is an uphill battle, and many agents simply choose to focus their energy elsewhere. Next on our list is a town where the housing market itself is falling apart even faster than the economy around it. Number 5, Pecos, Texas. Number 5 brings us to Pecos, a West Texas town sitting right in the heart of the Permian Basin, and this is where the housing market crisis becomes impossible to ignore. According to Zillow's most recent forecast, Pecos is projected to lead the entire state in home price declines, with values expected to drop nearly 12% within just 1 year. Let that number sink in for a second. If you owned a home worth $300,000 in Pecos, you could realistically watch it lose over $30,000 in value in 12 short months. That is not a slow, gradual dip. That is a housing market in genuine freefall. The reason behind this comes down to one simple truth. Pecos's entire economy is built around oil and gas exploration in the Permian Basin, and when that industry slows down even slightly, the ripple effect hits housing almost instantly. Fewer drilling jobs means fewer workers moving into town, fewer workers means fewer buyers, and fewer buyers means sellers are forced to slash their asking prices just to attract any interest at all. For real estate agents, this creates an almost impossible situation. How do you confidently price a home when the market could be worth significantly less by the time it actually closes? Many agents simply refuse to take listings in markets this unpredictable because the risk of wasted time and frustrated clients is simply too high. Pecos stands as a stark warning of what happens when an entire town's financial future depends on a single volatile industry. And coming up next, we're moving into a stretch of towns where the danger isn't falling prices. It's something far more serious. Number 4, Balch Springs, Texas. Number 4 brings us to Balch Springs, a suburb just 15 miles east of Dallas. And this is where things take a genuinely disturbing turn. Balch Springs has been named the single worst place to live in all of Texas by multiple independent rankings. And once you see the numbers, it's easy to understand why. Violent crime here runs a staggering 225% higher than the national average. a statistic so extreme it's hard to fully process. This isn't a town with a few rough neighborhoods. This is a community where danger touches nearly every corner. Poverty and unemployment remain widespread. City infrastructure is outdated and failing, and recreational opportunities for families are almost non-existent. The local school district is considered one of the most deficient in the entire state, meaning families moving here face challenges that go far beyond just safety concerns. For real estate agents, Balch Springs represents a nightmare scenario. Imagine trying to build trust with a buyer while knowing the violent crime rate is more than triple the national average, just 15 minutes from booming, desirable Dallas neighborhoods. The contrast is jarring, and it makes an agent's job incredibly difficult, because buyers naturally ask why they should choose Balch Springs when safer, more stable options exist just down the highway. Many agents in the greater Dallas area have quietly stopped taking listings here altogether, redirecting clients toward nearby suburbs instead. It's a stark example of how proximity to a thriving city doesn't guarantee safety or opportunity. Balch Springs proves that even suburbs sitting right next to economic powerhouses can become some of the most avoided real estate markets in the entire state. Up next, we're heading toward the border, where an entirely different set of challenges awaits. Number 3. San Benito, Texas. Number 3 takes us down to San Benito, a border town in the Rio Grande Valley facing a heavy combination of economic hardship and safety concerns. Poverty here reaches roughly 30% of all households, meaning nearly 1 in 3 families in San Benito is struggling to make ends meet. Household incomes sit well below the state average, and local schools remain under-resourced, making it harder for families to build a stable future here. But the number that really grabs attention is crime. San Benito's crime rate runs more than double the state average, and according to FBI-based crime data, this town ranks higher in crime than roughly 84% of all communities across Texas, regardless of size. For context, that places San Benito among the more dangerous small towns in a state with thousands of cities and towns to compare against. The frustrating part is that San Benito actually offers a genuinely affordable cost of living, which on paper should make it attractive to budget-conscious buyers and first-time homeowners. But affordability alone isn't enough when safety concerns and limited economic opportunity are working against it. Real estate agents here face a tough balancing act, trying to highlight the low cost of homes while honestly addressing the elevated crime rate and weaker school system buyers will inevitably ask about. Many agents choose to be extremely selective about which listings they take in San Benito, focusing only on specific neighborhoods they feel comfortable showing to clients. It's a clear example of how affordability and desirability don't always go hand in hand in Texas real estate. Coming up next, we're arriving at our final 2 towns, and honestly, they might be the most shocking entries on this entire list. Number 2, Hutchins, Texas. Number 2 on our list is Hutchins, a small town sitting just south of Dallas that carries some of the most alarming statistics we've covered so far. Poverty here reaches an eye-opening 35%, meaning more than a third of Hutchins residents are living below the poverty line. Unemployment sits at 8.3%, noticeably higher than both the state and national averages, leaving many families without steady income or a clear path toward financial stability. Then there's the crime rate, which runs a full 60% above the national average, a number that puts Hutchins firmly on the radar of anyone researching safety before buying a home. On top of that, both education quality and housing conditions rank poorly compared to the rest of the state, creating a difficult environment for families hoping to put down roots. What makes Hutchins especially notable is its location. Sitting just minutes from Dallas, one of the fastest-growing and most desirable metro areas in the entire country. That proximity creates a strange contradiction. Buyers can see thriving, booming neighborhoods just a short drive away, which only highlights how far behind Hutchins has fallen. For real estate agents, this comparison makes their job incredibly hard. Why would a buyer choose a town with 60% higher crime and widespread poverty when nearby Dallas suburbs offer better schools, safer streets, and stronger long-term investment potential? Many agents simply steer their clients toward those neighboring communities instead, leaving Hutchins with fewer buyers and fewer serious offers. It's a powerful reminder that being close to a booming city doesn't automatically mean a town shares in that success. And now we've arrived at the number 1 town on our list, and it might just be the most extreme entry yet. Number 1. Donna, Texas. And here it is, the #1 town on our list, Donna, Texas. And this one ties together almost every warning sign we've covered in this entire video. Donna sits in the Rio Grande Valley, and its median household income comes in at just $34,049, one of the lowest figures in the entire state of Texas. A staggering 33.3% of families here live in poverty, meaning 1 out of every 3 households is struggling financially, and that number alone would be enough to make most real estate agents nervous. But then you look at the crime numbers, and things get even more serious. Donna's violent crime rate sits at 54.1, almost double the national average of 22.7, a statistic that immediately raises red flags for any buyer doing basic research before making an offer. This is exactly the kind of combination that turns real estate agents away. A town where affordability looks appealing on paper, but poverty and violent crime create real, justified hesitation underneath the surface. Agents here face buyers asking hard, uncomfortable questions, and honestly, there often aren't easy answers to give. Some agents choose to avoid Donna listings entirely, unwilling to put their reputation on the line, recommending a town with numbers this concerning. Donna proves that when economic hardship and elevated crime collide in one small community, even experienced agents start looking the other way. So there you have it, 12 Texas towns where the numbers tell a story most buyers never hear until it's too late. If this opened your eyes, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which town shocked you the most, because trust me, this list could easily have been 20. So there you have it, the 12 Texas towns where real estate agents are quietly hesitating, and honestly, the reasons behind it are a lot deeper than most people realize. It's never just one problem. It's poverty stacking on top of crime, crime stacking on top of a shrinking economy, and a housing market that sometimes can't keep up with any of it. But here's the important part. None of these towns are hopeless. They're simply facing real challenges that deserve honest conversations, not just headlines. If you found this video eye-opening, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into Texas real estate, the housing market, and the stories behind the statistics. And drop a comment below telling me which town on this list surprised you the most. I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.